Hey everyone, it's Stephanie here, and today I have a video to share that uses the three of the new butterfly dies that were released as part of the Simon Says Stamp summer release. I'll be using the Leanna, Paulina, and Chrissy butterflies to create a fun card that has an opening in the front and shows a smaller butterfly on the inside coming through the opening. So what I'm going to do is use the solid larger butterfly first, and I'm going to be using the Thinking of You sentiment from the new Petal Pieces stamp set that was also released as part of the summer release. So I'm just going to position the die cut piece onto the card front along with my sentiment to figure out where I want to place everything. And I'm actually going to stamp the sentiment before I do any of the die cutting, just because once I stamp the sentiment, it's kind of permanent, so I want it to be positioned exactly where I want it first, and then I can place the die and adhere it down onto the card front with some washi tape to keep it where I want it. So I'm just laying the die onto the card about where I think it's going to go. And I just inked up my stamp with VersaFine Black Onyx ink, which is my favorite ink for sentiment stamping. And I'm just going to line this up and stamp this directly under the butterfly, trying to keep a pretty even margin underneath where the words are and on top of where the butterfly wings are, just to keep everything perfectly spaced on the card front. And then once I have that stamped on there, I'm just going to play around with the butterfly and get it positioned how I want it. I originally thought I maybe wanted to put it on a bit of an angle, but then decided I liked it better completely straight against the sentiment stamp there. So I'm just using some post-it note tape, and I'm going to use that to adhere the die onto the card, so just so that when I run it through my big shop machine, the butterfly doesn't shift at all and turn it into a position I don't want it to die cut. So once you have that there, just go ahead and run it through, which you can see I've done here now. So now I have this great butterfly opening on the card front, and my plan is to use the two smaller butterflies. There's a solid butterfly as well as a detailed butterfly with die cut pieces throughout its wings and body. I'm going to first do a little bit of Distress Ink watercoloring to the solid butterfly, and then I'm going to adhere the intricate die cut pieced butterfly over top. So my plan here is I just used 3 Distress Ink colors. I used Broken China, Picked Raspberry, and Peeled Paint. Or I'm sorry, I used Mowed Lawn. And I'm just going to go ahead and spritz those pretty heavily with water. And I'm just using Simon Says Stamp watercolor paper and just kind of smushing that into those different colors to get a fun watercolor effect. And I'm just going to spray more water onto the piece and just kind of tap it into the different colors, just so I have a nice blend of all the different colors on each area of the paper there. So now I have a dried piece. And my plan is to use the solid smaller butterfly and die cut 2 butterflies out of that piece. And I just kind of positioned it so that I could get lots of color onto each of the butterflies. And I'm just going to go with the more color butterfly there on the right, and that's going to be the top piece that's going to go directly underneath of this die cut intricate piece that's going to lay over top. And what's going to happen is that's going to allow all that fun color to show directly through the wings there. So there's lots of possibilities when you layer these. You can layer on pattern paper, you can layer on a inked watercolor piece like I did here. You can do some stamping on the bottom butterfly first with a background stamp, and then adhere the top piece, and even text would look kind of cool on the bottom one. So the sky's the limit with what you can do to make this an individual butterfly for every card you create. And then, so as you can see here, I'm just using a glue pen and just kind of scraping it over there on top of the back of the die cut piece, just to get it fully covered in glue, since there's so many little swirls and pieces that I want to ensure are adhered down onto that bottom butterfly piece. And then once I have that all together there, I'm just going to push it down so it's good and adhered. And then my plan is to adhere the first solid butterfly piece that is just plain on its own. That's going to be adhered directly to the inside of the card piece. So I'm just going to use regular Tombow adhesive and add that generously to the back of that butterfly piece there. And then I'm just going to keep the card closed to adhere that bottom butterfly to the inside piece, just so that I can see exactly where I want to place it and make sure that I've got it lined up in the center of the bodies there. So once you have that adhered on there, then you're ready to go ahead and add the other butterfly piece that you've created. And to do that, I just use red sticky tape in the center of the butterfly body, just so that I know it's good and strong hold there. And then I used foam adhesive on the back of the wings to raise those up a little bit so that when the cards close, the butterfly looks like the wings are actually lifting up out of the inside of the card. And I think if I was to repeat this again, I would put probably another layer of foam adhesive under those wings, just because I felt like it could have used a little bit more dimension than what I achieved here with just the one layer. So once I have that added on there, I just finished it off with a pearl in the center there. And as you can see there, once I close the card, that smaller butterfly fits perfectly inside the larger one and just gives a fun interactive look to the card rather than just the same plain simple card with a butterfly adhered onto the card front. And then to finish it off, just to mimic the soft lines of the butterfly, I just used my corner chomper and used the 1/4 inch rounder to round all 4 corners on the card. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.